All right, what is going on, America? So this is going to be a short video, not terribly long, and that has more to do with the fact that I've got to be at work at 12 than it does a lack of content. But there's some stuff going on that's not cool. Of course, as of this video, the conflict and the war in Ukraine is still going on. But on the home front in America, something else is happening. There's a war on free speech. Now, I'm not going to be like a conspiracy theorist, and you might hear that and be like, oh, that's exactly what a conspiracy theorist would say. But hear me out. I feel there's something indicative of something larger going on happening. So, of course, about a month ago, the Oscars happened, and Will Smith got up on stage and he slapped Chris Rock after Chris Rock made a joke about his wife being bald. Because his wife apparently didn't like it too much. So Will Smith got banned from any Academy events. I don't know if he was banned from being nominated, but yeah, if there's an Oscar happening, he can't go. And of his own accord, he decided to step away from the Academy, like membership wise. So if anybody wins anything, it's not because of him. And of course, he got a lot of projects pulled, and yeah. Now, I personally believe that, Will Smith has got some psychological issues, and it just happened to come up to the forefront in front of everybody. I mean, he does need to be held accountable, but I don't believe he should be permanently canceled. The dude was squeaky clean for 30 years, and I think because of that, if he is willing to own up and take responsibility, which so far I believe he has, then he ought to be given that second chance. But of course, again, there does need to be some kind of consequence because of what a huge figure he is in the industry, as it would be with anybody else. But he's one of the few people who I think is still considered a star and can draw people based on his name alone. And yeah, his name carries a lot of weight. But definitely, I want him to get better because I've been on the receiving end of crazy. And I've seen people who we had to turn away, people who we gave a second chance, and they turned things around. All right, so about a month later after that, something else happened. So Dave Chappelle is doing a festival. I think it's called Netflix is a Joke. Anyway, he's on stage doing his thing, and a dude pops up on stage, and by some accounts, he's got a gun that has a knife that can come out of it. Anyway, this dude attacks him, presumably not with the gun slash knife, but he just goes at him, and Dave Chappelle calls for security, and Jamie Foxx and Busta Rhymes, they attend to him much quicker. And so anyway, security eventually gets there. They take the dude backstage and subdue him. And Chris Rock, he basically says, "Was that Will Smith?" or something to that effect to try to break the tension because people are at a comedy festival and they didn't want to be they didn't want the audience to be robbed of what they paid for. So anyway, he makes that quip and and after a couple moments of, processing everything, Dave Chappelle returned to stage and he carried on his routine. Now, we don't know. They've identified the guy who attacked Dave Chappelle. It's not on the top of my head right now. Anyway, right now we don't know what his motivations were. If he's just a dude that snapped, or if there was some sort of political or ideological thing behind it. We don't know the guy's motive yet, but it happened so close to the Will Smith Chris Rock incident that you can't help but associate it with sort of, hey, I don't like what you said, therefore I'm going to counter that with physical violence. We could find out that the dude just snapped, but just within the proximity of the Chris Will Smith incident, um, the slap heard around the world, you can't help but associate those two things together. So, one thing I think this is going to do is, I think it does, I think there's going to be a minority of people who are going to say, like, yeah, Dave Chappelle should be careful about what he says, knowing stuff like this is going to happen. And those people are wrong. You're free to love what Dave Chappelle says, free to not love it. You're even free to hate him and hate what he says. But what you're not free to do is take physical violence against him. You can even petition for laws to be made, and he has every right to petition back. And people who like him have every right to petition back. I think Mark Bernardin, who doesn't like um, sorry, the direction in which Dave Chappelle has taken his comedy, he put it best on the Fat Man Beyond podcast, saying he acknowledges the craftsmanship of Dave Chappelle and his ability to construct jokes, but he doesn't like the direction that he's taken it. And so he says, I'm going to vote with my dollar and I'm not going to listen. I'm paraphrasing heavily, but yeah, I think that's the most sensible thing. And I don't know why people feel like they would have to take extra measures. I mean, maybe if Dave Chappelle was inciting acts of violence against certain people, but if you actually listen to his specials, they're very human stories, and even people who have no empathy whatsoever for the groups that Dave is supposedly persecuting. I don't know. I feel like if they listened to his special, they would think like, huh, maybe I can go about things a better way. And I really think that the people who are antagonistic to Dave Chappelle, I feel like they haven't watched the specials that he's put out that he's getting taken to task for. It's a real shame because, number one, they're hysterical. And I know it's brought up to death, but he really does make fun of everybody. Um, yeah. So I really hope that comedians getting attacked does not become the norm. I remember watching his Mark Twain special on Netflix, and he's at a comedy club. I don't know which one. I don't know if it's the Comedy Store. Um, but anyway, he's talking, and he says that we are on sacred, hallowed ground. And yeah, I think before this incident, when Dave Chappelle got attacked, we kind of thought of like, okay, cancel culture, ha ha ha. But with this, I feel it's the first time it's turned violent. And again, further down the line, we could find out what this dude's motivations were and what they weren't. It could have nothing to do with anything Dave Chappelle has said. It could be that he just chose Dave Chappelle to be the target of his aggression. But again, as I've said before, it happened within very close proximity to Chris Rock said something that Will Smith did not like, and Will Smith went about it with violence. It might have just been a slap, but it wasn't about that. It was about the nature of when and where it happened and the stature of both men and what influence they have. They're basically both role models and figures that people look up to. And yeah, so it counted a bit more than if, a regular person just slapped another person. I mean, that's still bad, but, they're public figures. So definitely security is going to be beefed up. And it's a shame that, well, who knows? Maybe it's not a shame. But because of Dave Chappelle's no phone policy, there was very little footage to be made of this incident. I think after the fact, Netflix definitely has the footage, and who knows if they'll incorporate it or release it or what'll happen. But I do hope this is sort of a wake up call to people, even if they have nothing but antipathy to Dave Chappelle. I hope they realize that if if things are as they turn out to be, that this person didn't like what he had to say, I hope there's a realization that this causes more plurality and dialogue than it does animosity and division. Because I hope it makes people realize, oh, if this can happen to Dave, it could happen to me. And I feel silly for even having to say something that seems so basic. But yeah, violence isn't the answer. Vote with your dollar. And if people ask you, hey, how come you're not cool with this? Give them a reason. And it'll be up to them to decide what they want to do. Um, Not much to say about that. This is episode 3 of the David Wells experiment. Um, Free speech is sacred. Yup. Cherish it because it's one of the best things we've got. Adios.